morning, everybody. Good morning. Wonderful to see you all in worship this morning. It's a pleasure to welcome everyone, of course, in a special way. We welcome our special guest today, Temba. We'll have plenty of opportunity to get to know him and hear what he has to, the message that he's bringing to us. All done. Let's now enter into worship.
Good morning. Please stand for the call of worship. God has been gracious to us. God has blessed us. God has made his face to shine upon us. God reveals his way to all peoples. God guides all the nations on the earth. God judges everyone with equity. God shows his saving power everywhere. Let all the nations praise you, O God. Let us, your people, praise you.
Let us join together.
What is that?
Good morning, Salem. It is such a joyous and exciting day here at Salem. We're so excited to welcome Temba and meet him and see him in person. I would like to take the time to highlight some of Salem's support of Mujila Falls Agricultural Center from years past. Do the first slide for me. That was good. The 2011 to 2016 slide. We used to hold bake sales every Palm Sunday, and many of you participated by bringing your baked goods or whatnot, and more so by purchasing and eating the baked goods that we had provided. But we always had a specific cause for Mujila Falls that the money would be earmarked to. And that was done, we'd contact the missionary, it was either Temba or Paul Webster, and find out what they were needing specifically at Mujila Falls. So from 2011 through 2016, some of the things that we raised money for were concrete for a barn, purchasing chickens and feed. Then we did a concrete for a poultry building, wiring and electricity, and other associated costs for chickens. Next slide, please. In 2017, we started doing things a little different. We had, on Palm Sunday, we would hold pie sales. And these weren't really pie sales. What we did was we had pie available for people to give a free will donation to. And again, the proceeds from the pie sale was used for a specific cause at Mujila Falls. Generally, one year it was just support in general for the agricultural center. And then we helped provide construction costs for this, a dormitory at the center. And this was later named Salem House, which we were thrilled about. And then after that, we provided some furnishings for the Salem House, other Salem House needs. And then most recently, our Palm Sunday event was to provide fruit trees for the agricultural center. Next. But something else happened. Since COVID, the support has increased from an average of about $700 per year to roughly $4,000 per year, which is truly amazing. And of that $4,000, some of it was from our Easter offering, and that was used to support salary at the mission for Temba, and in years past for Paul Webster. And as a member of the Salem Outreach team, I would just like to thank you for your faithful support through the years for Mujila Falls. Thank you. And now I will do the scripture reading for today. It's from John chapter 10, verse 10b. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. And now it's Temba time.
Almost. Because I know Temba is a very modest person, I would like to briefly introduce him because as I read, then I met him and talked to him several times through Zoom, but I never knew all his accomplishments and everything he has been doing. So Temba is a missionary with the United Methodist Church with the General Board of Global Ministry. And as you heard, he's been serving at Mujila Falls. He was commissioned, that's the word, like ordained, but for a missionary on October 2017. We have been following through the years how powerful this ministry has been and how this agriculture project that started was launched in 1995 by the Global Ministry. It grew and it grew bigger and bigger, and then it was dedicated in 2000, where it is now, and it's been keep growing since then. And now he will tell you what he does there. There is what the group does, but there is all different kind of work that has been done. As he said to the kids, Temba is from Zimbabwe, and there he received a Bachelor of Science degree in agriculture from the United Methodist Africa University. He holds both Master of Science and Doctor of Philosophy. degrees in agriculture, civil engineering with the emphasis on water resources management. And he worked for the Green Impact Trust with the Zimbabwe Department of Agriculture Extension. Hello, baby. That's you. That I was so impressed by all this preparation and all that now he grew as a Christian, and he really made then a big commitment to serve through his life and his science and his knowledge to serve so many people through the years. So we, as Becky said, we are so happy to have you here. Please welcome among us Temba.
Thank you so much for the wonderful welcome. And I thank you so much for... Okay, can you all hear me now? Okay. Thank you so much for having me this morning. It's really a privilege to be able to finally meet you in person. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. And thank you for the wonderful introduction. So I titled my presentation, Temba, Baseball, and Mujila Falls. So I think in the past, many of the presentations I've made to Salem have been focused on the dormitory. So on itineration, we have to use the same presentation like to every church that we go to. So this will kind of show you how the dormitory fits in the broad, looking at it from a broader perspective. Yes. So Temba, you already know. Mujila Falls, you already know about that. So we'll see how baseball will fit in. So first and foremost, I want to officially greet you, Pastor Paula, your mission committee, Gladys, who I've always been communicating with, my host family, the Petersons. I thank you so much, and I greet you all in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Next slide. So today in this presentation, I'll just briefly introduce myself, a little bit about Mujila. Well, you know most of the stuff already. I'll talk a little bit about the new stuff, and I'll introduce my baseball strategy, and then I'll summarize and conclude. Next slide. So my name is Temba, and you already know about this. Next slide. So as I already mentioned, I'm from Zimbabwe, and there is a picture of my wife and my son. And so during our commissioning time in Atlanta, when I became a missionary, we had to select the words that we would want to describe our missionary calling. So some of the words that stood out to me from the list were words like engage, compliment, and mostly dignity. So I think dignity, when you are assisting people, when you want to make a community better, it's very important to do it in a way that maintains their dignity too. Next slide. And I'll briefly remind you about Zambia. It's a small nation, 17 million people in population, and mostly Christian. So the whole country, the economy largely depends on mining, and mostly of copper mining. Next slide. And then coming down to our small town where we have the Democratic Republic of Congo to the north and Angola to the west. And because there isn't a big mine near our community, it's quite a poor area, and people mostly rely on selling things like honey and pineapples to survive. So the average temperature is about 66 degrees Fahrenheit, and we receive about 55 inches of rainfall in a year, and this is a very wet area. Next slide. So the brief history about Mujila Falls. So you've heard that the project started in 1995. So it started actually as something different. It was called the Musokatanda Agriculture Project, and it was still in the Democratic Republic of Congo. But they could not stay there for a long time because of civil strife. So they had to relocate from the Congo, and they came down to Zambia. So when the local chief heard that there were United Methodist missionaries who were looking to set up an agriculture ministry, they donated 2,500 acres of land to the church. And that's how the Mujila Falls was reconstituted. And because of the malnourishment that was there at the time, and one of the main goals of the center was to increase foods that have high content in protein. Next slide. So coming to today, our project can be described in the gear schematics there, where we rely on sales and gifts, and these drive the farm enterprise. And through that running of the farm, we bring about rural development and church growth. So that's a picture of me and our founder, Paul, when I was showing him some blueprints of the buildings that we were putting up. So out of the 4 focus areas of the United Methodist Church, our main area is alleviating human suffering and poverty. Next slide. So as was read this morning, our motto comes from that second part of John chapter 10, and we want to help people as much as we can for them to live their lives to the full. Some versions will talk about to live it abundantly. So we try that in the many different ways that we can. So that's a picture of our staff. In the mornings, we have morning devotions on Mondays and Fridays. So most of our work is running the farm. So we have different types of livestock, and we have different types of crops that we grow to feed our livestock. And then we also do bookkeeping and marketing to keep the farm going. Next slide. I'll just highlight a few new things. Next. So we recently got a 2-ton refrigerated truck. And the nice thing about this truck is that the first amount of money to go towards purchasing this came from 2 retired pastors here in Wisconsin. I think one of them is Sue Burrell. The other one must be Caroline Saunders, I think. Next slide. And then we have recently bought a 5-ton tractor trailer. So this helps us to move, let's say, manure to our fields or things just around the farm, and it has helped us to become more efficient right at the farm. Next slide. So going forward, this is when we introduce the baseball strategy. Next slide. So I'm Zimbabwean, so I grew up playing cricket. We don't have much baseball in Zimbabwe, but so when I started to learn about baseball, you find the rules are slightly different, or very different. I don't know how you can look at it. So in cricket, a batter has the choice to let a good ball go because there isn't really that pressure. The game is much longer than what you have in baseball. But in baseball, if a batter lets a good ball go too many times, then you'll be striked out, right? So he only has 3 chances. So I felt in many areas our work was kind of starting to feel like cricket, where our project does a lot, and it takes a lot of effort and money, but we were not really seeing the rural development or the change that we wanted to see in the community. So I started to think about what if we change our game from cricket to baseball. Now, if we were to change it to baseball, what 3 things do I think that if we do in this community, we'll see that change we want directly and quickly at that baseball pace? So these are the 3 things that I will highlight and share with you today. Next. So the first is early childhood education. I think if you remember from Paul's presentations, a house like the picture you see above, that looks like the house that he would have first settled in when he came to the area before he moved on to the big farm. So when they moved to the farm, those houses remained vacant. And as more women were active in agriculture and to process their staple, which is cassava, people spend a lot of time outside of their homes. And so the women have this responsibility, but at the same time, they're also like the primary caregivers to children. So what was happening is that in the neighborhood, older siblings would remain in charge of younger siblings. So we're talking of, say, someone who's 11 or 12 has to look after their younger brothers or sisters who are like 5 or 2 or something like that. But they are also still children. and they also want to play freely. So what would happen is that maybe they would go out to be playing somewhere, and then these younger kids, maybe a child gets hungry and they try to eat a meal, or they do something and they would end up injuring themselves. So what Paul and Chala had done, they put some swings and made those old houses like a safe play area where children could hang out. But kids are difficult to keep in one place if there isn't really like a solid program. So they would go there to play for some time, but they would quickly move on to something else, and people don't really know, are they at that place or not, or are they somewhere else? So when we came in 2017, we had a meeting about this place, and we identified two, one young man and one young lady who had high school education, and then we started to take them to early childhood education college, and we decided that they start teaching a formal program where they'll teach like basic math and reading and writing. The kids also had like some time to play, but it was kind of, some people will be looking after them and running a program. And of what I'm calling the new strategy projects, this is one of the most successful now, because we've had maybe for about 4 years now, people graduating from the daycare center, where we give free education to young kids who are between the ages of 4 and 5. And the government has come in and they've given us a fully trained teacher who they pay to help us with running that, while we are also still helping. Now it's 3 people from the community to also train. And we have also pulled down the old buildings, and we've built a new structure, which we're now calling so it was the Mama Roxanne Daycare Center, now it's the Mama Roxanne Community Center. Because on one side, we have a decent-sized room that we hold meetings in the community for things like our sewing clubs. And the other side, that's where we still have the daycare center running. Next slide. That's a picture of the kids. This was an Independence Day celebration, so they were wearing their own clothes, and they had to wear something for them to be identified. That's why they have similar headgear. Next. So the other thing we're doing in our community is we have built a primary school right on our site. So in our area, we have primary schools, but they're really wide and far apart. So this is one of the things we wanted to bring in the community near us. And this is a 3-classroom block, the first one that we put up. In the middle part, that's what the school looks like. And all that you see there was all fabricated on site. And we also have now an arrangement with government for them to give us a fully trained teacher. On the other picture there, you see we continue to build more teachers' houses. So as the population in this part of the farm will increase, we think we'll need to drill a deep well, so that we can have a good source of water. Next slide. So on youth and adult education, we think this is very important in our community. So there are 2 ways, short-term and long-term. Next slide. So short-term, this is what we've been doing. I think the project has been doing this for maybe 15 or more years now, where the aim is just to share all the knowledge and skills that we have acquired. In the previous slides, I told you we have different types of animals and different types of crops. So we share everything that we have to the people who are interested around us for free, and sometimes they get a chance to get something to help them start a smaller project. So let's say if we train people how to take care of chickens, then when we order our chickens, they can also get maybe an extra box that we give to them, and some feed and vaccines to help them start their own small project. And here we offer hands-on training, and there are also some like empowerment programs where it's like savings clubs, sewing clubs, soy seed multiplication. One of the nice things about this is that this kind of trainings don't really need a lot of background education. And in Zambia, there's a challenge of like languages. There's 72 like local languages. So most likely every different place you go, they'll speak a different language. And some of the languages are very different. So the people around us have a chance to learn in Lunda, which is their local language in that place. Next slide. So we have had a partnership with the Peace Corps on these short trainings. So people would come to the farm to study animal husbandry. But what was happening was that the Peace Corps had to camp on our farm, so they'll actually bring their own tents or bring mattresses at the farm. So this was difficult to other people to camp. So this is when some of you might know about this dormitory. When we came up with this idea, and in collaboration with you, you've helped us to put Salem House, the dormitory, which we think can house up to 20 people, and people can be housed at the site, no need to walk to and fro the farm. And I think we are really grateful. This has been a game changer in the for the short-term training. Next slide. So these are a few pictures from our farm, the employees. We have about 22 now, and sometimes we get extra part-time depending on the task we are doing. That's a picture of the corn coming from the fields to our barns. We built a pigsty, so now that one has 8 rooms for farrowing, and it's a semi-intensive system, so after we wean them, they live outside the sty freely. We still produce eggs. I think on the same picture of the eggs, there's some tomatoes there. We still produce that. And we have dairy cattle where we produce milk that we give out for free in the community. We now train people how to grow fish in fish ponds. We have 2 incubators. One is 88 eggs, another one is 660. So we can hatch chicken or guinea fowl type of eggs right at the farm. That's a picture of the free-range chickens. Next slide. So on this short term, we also offer attachment and internship. And in the picture, you'll see those 2 ladies were actually from Africa University in Zimbabwe, and the young man was from the Copperbelt University in Zambia. Next slide. So some of the programs we do are also directly aimed to support the youth within the church. So in this case, you see we gave a welding machine and a side grinder to a group. So in towns, small towns like ours, let's say you have a metal chair broken or you want something to be fabricated, you go to a group like this with this equipment, and then they can make the stuff for you, and they'll charge you a small fee. So it's a good way for youth to start generating some income. So we found that the short-term trainings were good, but in some respect they become like a fair or going to agricultural show where you see very nice things, but sometimes you don't really see how they fit in, how you benefit, or how to really do them in the long run. So we now have started to build a vocational trade school, and this also has been necessitated by the high unemployment in our area. And the high unemployment is not only to people who are not educated, but sometimes parents sacrifice and they send people to school to get some sort of education, but there isn't an industry big enough to absorb them. So we are thinking that if people have practical skills in things like agriculture, metal fabrication, carpentry, or even the building that we've been doing, if we had good skills in those areas, people can easily find work, I think, and if that work is not available, they can be self-employed. So in that structure, that's the first block, and we have four classrooms there, a laboratory, and things. Then beside that, there's also two dinings and a kitchen that we are constructing. So we look to finish this in 2025, and we hope to start the actual programs in 2026. Next. So to stretch for our dollar to go as far as it can go, we do a lot of in-house processing. So I think you remember I had shown some of this material before, where this is how we make bricks. We use termite mounds, and it's molded, and then they're laid out in the sun to dry, and then we build a kiln, put fire to it to produce a hardened clay brick. So even for things like window frames and door frames, we just buy raw material, and it's all cut and fabricated on site. So we use wood for roof trusses. So we have a sawmill to produce our own lumber at the farm. Next slide. So just to summarize everything, there are 3 things that I thought I would share about my presentation. So the first thing is that I think that a mission like ours is still relevant to to make the community a little bit better. The second thing is to appreciate the work that was done by Paul and Roxanne Webster, who have named the daycare after, and Chala Mwengo, who is also late. He passed away in 2014. And all the supporting churches that they really have helped to build Mujila Falls to be what it is today, and it's a benefit to the community. And then the third thing is that your giving and ultimately God's grace will surely allow us to strike poverty and suffering out. That's just a picture I put on presentations like this. I found it on the internet. It says growing your own food is like printing your own money. So sometimes if you help people produce, it has a bigger effect than the actual thing that you give. Next slide. Tuna sakili mwani, that's how you say thank you in Lunda. So that's a picture. We had this event, I think it's before Christmas last year, where we had our staff, their spouses, and children at the farm. So on behalf of our staff, their families, the beneficiaries of our program, and indeed myself and my family, I want to thank you all for the support and mostly for allowing me to share about our work today. Next slide. So the final thing is to invite you to come with me to Zambia. You're very welcome to come with me physically. And you can also join us in many ways that I've highlighted there, your moral support, prayers. We have a Facebook page, so sometimes we post anything that we think would be of interest, maybe once in 2 weeks or so. And then I also make a collation of that and we send it as a newsletter, so you can send us on that email. When I go back, I'll add you to the mailing list. And then the financial gifts, all of them come through the advance. I think we appreciate you've been sending the gifts through there. So there are two ways. That one in my name, it goes into a pool that supports me and all the other missionaries on the ground. And so that includes all missionaries, global mission fellows, and those in the office in Atlanta. And then the one in the project's name is when we want to do something directly on the farm, like the way we did with the Salem house. So thank you so much. Then, I had forgotten one thing. So when I knew that I was going to come to visit you, in our community, people ask me that wherever you go, you have to leave a piece of the culture there so that people will look at it and remember us. So Pastor, if I can present a few things. So this type of cloth here is called the chitenge. So if you look at videos or pictures of African women, sometimes you find they wrap it around their waist or they carry babies with it. So you can put this in a display area to remember our friend from Zambia. Then this is a carving of an African woman, just to appreciate the work that your church is doing to make life better for the African woman. So from GBGM, I think I should send a soft copy of this. The printed one is, maybe it can be printed on a card. So this is a certificate from Global Ministries to appreciate the support that you've started to give to me. And this is for the consistent support in 5 years. So here are some business cards and some other material from Global Ministries.
Thank you. As we prepare to leave this time and enter into a time of celebration and fellowship, may the Lord bless you all and give to all of you the power to figure out, to discover your vocation in what you do, in everything you are, in every gesture, in every action. We can bring Christ and hope and you begin into other people. May the Spirit of God be with you now and forever. Amen.
praise.